World of Matchups is back, you guys, with all the information, bringing it to you all live and direct from Las Vegas, Nevada, talking about what happened on Thursday. My man, 50 grand on the other side of the glass. Mr. Spencer the Wiz is in the house, a man that needs no introduction anywhere in the civilized free world. Welcome him in. Spencer, what is up, my man?
We're back. We're here. It's weird. It's almost like you don't remember what happened before football. Like there's the end of the season, and it's just like this blank period of just like despair, and then you get football back, and it's like everything's back to normal. It feels great, especially as a
I
school
know.
teacher now.
It,
I got something to look
oh,
forward to on the
man.
weekend, a little extra.
Yeah, it's like Christmas for me every time there's football on the screen. It's like no other sport. I can watch the worst football game and be perfectly happy. So let's talk about what happened Thursday night. My Chiefs home opener. In comes the mighty Chargers. They've retooled their defense. Let me tell you something. I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say this. A lot of people are not going to like this. I think the Chargers are the second best team in the AFC.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think they were going into the season. The only real problem that I saw last night, and I know you're going to get into your thoughts, but my first thought, like by far, was that it looked like Khalil Mack was taking PTO. Man, I mean, they're paying this guy a lot of money, and they're going to pay him a lot of money next year. They're going all out. They're saying we have to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years, or it's gonna fall apart because obviously they have to pay Justin Herbert, and they just paid J.C. Jackson a bunch of money. They paid
Yeah.
Joey Bosa a bunch of money. I mean, yeah, I think it's and they just paid Mike Williams a bunch of money. They still have Keenan Allen, so they're in a unique situation, obviously, because Justin Herbert is like ahead of schedule of every quarterback at his age, other than Patrick Mahomes, right? Even the Bills now didn't win a Super Bowl with Allen because he took a while to come along. You look at Justin Herbert, I mean, he's pretty much ready to go. So he's on his rookie contract, and they have built their team commendably so. I talk about this all the time and that you have to go for it because like how many opportunities do you get there's never going to be another Patriots in our lifetime probably. I mean, there's a very small chance that there's just going to be a team that dominates for a 20-year period, so you're going to have your opportunities every once in a while. And I think that's what you're seeing the Chargers do. It looked great for a half of football, right? It looked great for half of football, and then the second half, I don't know what happened. Obviously at the end, Justin Herbert gets hurt, but there's a lot that happened leading up to that moment, obviously. And the Chiefs, I mean, and the Chargers, it just seems like no matter the era, no matter how good their team is, because they've had some great teams over the years, they just find a way to lose games. They don't lose games; they find a
Hmm.
way to lose games, and that's what happened again on Thursday. It's like a curse. It's like me and my buddy Kevin, we talk about all the time that Philip Rivers always finds himself down one score in the fourth quarter with like 5 minutes left to go. And it's like, okay, Justin Herbert finds himself in the same situation. So maybe it wasn't Philip Rivers. Maybe it's like this curse that the Chargers have.
Yeah, well, I tend to agree. And the bottom line to me when I look at that loss is it's coaching. It's all coaching. I'm not a big Brandon Staley guy. I think that that's a team that should have beaten the Chiefs by 3 touchdowns on Thursday night. And even as a Chief fan, I'm not a homer. I'm an NFL fan first. The Chiefs were lucky to win that game. That is poor execution on the side of the Chargers. Mike Williams is an absolute dog. You stop feeding him. That makes no sense to me. Justin Herbert is he's like just add water and you have a superstar. The guy is far ahead of schedule. And when you look at the type of passes that they were throwing, they're like dinking and dunking. Did you know that he only had 2 passes that went over 17 yards? You have an absolute stud of the highest order, and you're not using him properly. You know what I mean? You have Gerald Everett trying to get off the field. You're pushing the envelope, and it led to the mistake, which ended that game. That game was over as soon as that 99-yard interception happened. And I think that while I think the Chiefs are still the Chiefs, they got a lot of work to do. They absolutely do miss Tyreek. I like what they're doing to kind of remedy losing him, how they're spreading the ball around. But the bottom line is if they're not a top 15 defense, I think by the end of the year, the Chargers may be where they would like to be because their schedule's a lot easier. Justin Herbert is an unbelievable ball player. He has to stay healthy, though. They got to keep him upright. And I think that they were kicking themselves in the ass flying back to LA because that's a game that they should have never lost.
The one thing that frustrated me, I mean, there were so many coaching mistakes, like in my opinion. Obviously, I'm just a person, so I can't be in Staley's shoes, but at least I can observe at the end of the game.
He's horrible.
When it's the end of the fourth quarter, right, and they get down the field, they actually get into field goal range with like a little bit over, I think it's like maybe a little over 2 minutes. I don't remember exactly. And they go to push the touchdown. But it's like, here's the situation, right? You have 2 timeouts. Okay. So you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to get 3 stops in the ball back. So you're going to have some sort of like 35-second period where time's going to run off. So it's the moment you get into field goal range, do you not just clock the ball, take the field goal, and you're still down a touchdown? Versus you score a touchdown with like no time left, and they just have to take a knee. You're depending on an onside kick, which obviously is a very low percentage. Versus taking a field goal and having at least 10 seconds to have the ball back. I'd prefer to have the ball in my quarterback's hands, who is hurt, by the way, with like 10 seconds versus hoping that an onside kick works and also only having a few seconds left. That was really frustrating. I'm not frustrating. I don't care. I hate the Chargers. I'm a Raiders fan, but you know what I mean? Just as an observation, I just thought that was a really strange decision to go for that touchdown at the end. Not that the odds are in your favor either way, but don't you want to give yourself the best odds, at least a chance to win the game? And I feel like, Justin Herbert can probably throw the ball at least to a Hail Mary. I'd rather have a Hail Mary to Mike Williams than I would an onside kick and then they just take a knee. You just have a little bit of a better chance that way, right?
I think so. I mean, Mike Williams, Pittman, T. Higgins, those are the 50-50 ball kings. And I just think that Staley outthinks himself. I think that he's still sick from that hangover that happened with the Raiders last year. You saw it in this game. I mean, yes, he's a young coach, but I mean, they've really upgraded that team all over, and they've spent a lot of money. That offense is just so vanilla. No way the Chiefs should have won that game. Chiefs should have been down at least 3 touchdowns in that game if everything goes the way. They were dominating Kansas City the entire game. But, to their credit, if you leave the Chiefs opportunities to hang around, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're going to walk through that door, and they did exactly what they're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I don't care what anyone says. I'd rather take an ugly win than in the AFC. He's like winning 2 games at the same time. And with the murderer's row that Kansas City has coming up, Buffalo, Tampa, Indy, Vegas, they cannot afford to lose their home opener. And so if the Chargers can get it together, I think they have a legit shot, because if you go look at their schedule, they don't play anyone. They play bums. And so they're at the advantage, but that's truly a game you cannot lose. I think both coaches were bad. I think Andy Reid was horrendous in this game. I think the injuries played a huge part in this game. But at the end of the day, it's going to be Herbert versus Mahomes, and Mahomes did just enough, and he didn't turn the ball over, and he stayed healthy enough to win the game. I'm trying to be optimistic with my Chiefs. I have really no expectations this year. Whatever they give me is what they give me, just because I know exactly what's coming. Everybody upgraded their teams to get better. You saw it from the Chargers. It just all comes down to coaching. If we get good Andy Reid, we're going to go far and go far in the playoffs. Are they a Super Bowl caliber team? I haven't seen enough to say that yet. There's a lot of youth and rookies, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that would need to step up. But if they're a top 15 defense, either way, I think the Chargers or the Chiefs could easily go back or go to the Super Bowl and potentially win it. But we can't discount what Buffalo is doing as well. These are the 3 teams I think that have the best shot in the AFC to make some noise.
Yeah, well, going back to Andy Reid, I mean, there were so many questionable decisions. Like, I just couldn't believe.
He's horrible.
Like, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is like essentially dominating the game when he touches the ball. I can think of multiple times where this guy, ripped 50 yards. In fact, when he did rip that long 50-yard run, they're down in the red zone and they take him out for Jerick McKinnon, man. I mean, maybe you want to take him out for one play, right? He's got to catch his breath, but not 3 plays in a row after that. You got to give this guy the ball. He's so clearly better. And they give the ball to a 7th round rookie, which I don't think he's going to be ready. They give him the ball in 3rd and short. He runs into a brick wall. It just didn't look good. It's like you have a guy who's probably playing for a contract in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's had criticism thrown his way because, he was drafted before Jonathan Taylor and the whole 9 yards, right? But he's not bad. It's not like this guy is on the cusp of being cut from the team. He's clearly their best running back. I mean, I have him in fantasy, so I think it's a little more frustrating to me, but I think when you're just watching the game, it just looks weird. Like, it's just bizarre. Why are you giving Jerick
McKinnon Andy Reid for you. That's Andy Reid
CEH, I
for
think
you.
can take those. You don't have to have a running back by committee. I'm not saying you got to make Clyde Edwards-Helaire the Derrick Henry of the Chiefs, but I think the guy deserves probably a 60 split, right? Or at least a 70-30 split with the other guys. Right now, it's like 45-55 against his favor, at least it looks like to me.
No. He's the best running back the Chiefs have, and they don't use him. The Chiefs, they drive me nuts. One of the things that Andy Reid just will not do is line up the guys and just hand off the ball. I mean, even inside the one. You saw it last year in the Cincinnati game that they blew at the half. You're on the 1 yard line, fam. Line up and hand that ball off. But no, what are we doing? We're doing trick plays. We're throwing 1 yard Derek
Yeah.
Carr screen passes. I don't understand it, man. It makes no sense to me. Now, maybe you may believe that you don't have the personnel to do it, or maybe you don't have the balls enough to give Patrick Mahomes, the green light to just quarterback sneak it. But these type of things leave yards on the field, and they just drive me nuts about Andy Reid. They make no sense. We're doing these underhand passes inside the 5. Look, smash mouth football, when it works, it lets the other team know that we're not scared to punch you in the mouth. The Chiefs have to stop being so finesse when it counts. Throw for show, but you run for the dough. And I just don't think Andy Reid gets it, man. And I have such a love-hate relationship with this guy, as you know, and the Philadelphia Eagle fans. All of them tell me the same thing. They're like, yep, you're going through the same thing we went through 20 years ago, man. Good luck with that. I'm grateful I at least got a ring out of it. But my God, when I see how he handles some of the play calling when it counts, it just makes no sense to me. And he was absolutely horrendous. He was as bad as Staley was on Thursday night. And I think the Chiefs win that game 100 times. They win maybe 2 or 3 times. And that's exactly what happened. It was one of those 3 times Thursday night.
Yeah, and the one last thing I'll say about the Chiefs, as we wrap this up, is their offensive line is garbage. Like their offensive line is very bad,
I don't know.
and that does
No, I
not
don't
bode
know
well.
about that, man.
He was running around the
I don't know if they're
entire game. We'll see.
yeah,
We'll
but I
see when
don't
the
know if
when
that
the
makes
Raiders
them.
come into town. I think that that's going to be the only way the Raiders can win that game. I mean, Patrick Mahomes looked like he was running for his life constantly in that game, and the strength of the
Yeah, but
AFC West is the defensive line across the board.
for sure, but I don't know if they're garbage. I mean, they've got pretty good players. I think it's more about the Chargers D line than the Chiefs O line. The Chiefs O line is solid, man. They might have underachieved on Thursday, but you got to remember what's coming at you from the left and the right. Joey Bosa is a stud of the highest order, and Khalil Mack, his name rings out throughout halls of offensive coordinators everywhere. And so I think they might have had a bad game. I don't like Andrew Wiley at right tackle, but right now they've got nothing else. So it is what it is. They may have just not played well. I was at the Arizona game where Patrick Mahomes looked like his jersey wasn't touched once. So it's the caliber of competition I think that they were playing. I think with 9 days off, Andy Reid will get it right with these guys. They've got Indianapolis next, and that's a team that doesn't have a major pass rush, and we'll see what happens then. It's going to be something to monitor. It's almost like preseason right now is the first 5 games of the season for a lot of
Oh
these
yeah, the
teams,
first week of
especially when
football.
they're not
Yeah.
the first 4 weeks of football. I think you got to give these guys a month to kind of see where they're at. If at Halloween we're seeing Patrick Mahomes do this, then it's time for the panic button.
Yeah. So it was a good game. It was an entertaining game. It was weird. I didn't. Okay. I guess we could really wrap this up talking about Amazon streaming. I'm not a
Oh,
huge fan only because, well, first of all, not everyone has a great internet connection versus satellite, right? With regular TV where there's
screw
really no
Amazon.
problems. But I don't like to have to depend on because I live in Pahrump, man. Like our Wi-Fi ain't all that in a bag of chips, and I know I'm not the only football fan in a rural area. You're talking about middle America here that doesn't have the greatest
The
internet
middle of
connection.
nowhere.
So I had audio delay
Not
issues
a big fan.
on my broadcast, and I also it was hard. I was trying to watch the Aces finals game, which is its whole other issue. Like, why is the WNBA finals trying to compete with football? But that's a conversation for another time. But it was hard for me to switch back between the game and the Amazon game. So I had to switch between my Roku and my regular TV. It's just it didn't work great, and I think Roger just liked that Bezos money, and I think that's the cost that we have to pay, for him owning Thursday Night Football.
Money talks, control hollers. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm not a big fan of the whole Amazon thing, and the whole thing gets a big fat F you from Dexter Reed in World of Matchups. I'm out.